Welcome to the Mac Power Users. I'm David Sparks and joined as always by the intrepid Mr. Stephen Robles. Hello, Stephen. How are you today?
I'm doing great, David. How are you doing?
I am really excited to talk about feedback. These shows, I say this every time, but we get all these great listeners. They send in all this cool stuff, and it just sits there waiting for the feedback episode. And now it's here. We get to share it.
That's right. And I brought illegal and contraband items
Yes.
on the show to surprise you with. I'm very excited.
Yeah, you told me you have contraband, but you won't tell me what it is. So
That's right.
I am very curious, I must admit. You know, I used to be a member of the bar, but I'm no longer one, so I can't help you. Well, I guess I am one, but I'm not allowed to practice because I'm inactive. So I hope you're not going to, need me to bail you out or something.
I hope so. I hope not either.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about that, and also going to play into more power users, where I talk about gear, especially gear I'm bringing to WWDC because I'm going to be doing stuff on the ground, and so that'll be fun.
You got to bring your gear, travel gear. We all need it. Steven, I just realized this is your second feedback episode of Mac Power Users. How's it going? You happy being on Mac Power Users?
I love being on Mac Power Users. The audience still just amazes me. I love hearing from them in the forums, the Talk Mac Power Users forums, and on YouTube. Our last episode with Marco, so much positive feedback. People loved hearing that episode as well. And I just love podcasting with you. I've learned so much. I have more utilities than I ever have. I'm backed up. My Mac is backed up. I mean, come on.
Mission accomplished. We backed up Robles.
This is it, so I don't have to worry about it. And so I'm excited, and I'm excited to get into this. And I actually have a question for you.
All right.
This is a real-time feedback. So I'm going to DubDub. I want to install the beta on my Mac, and I literally thought about buying a second MacBook Air just to run the beta, and I was like, this seems like overkill. And I looked up, and apparently you can install Mac OS on an external SSD and run it from there. Have you ever done that? Do you know about that?
I did it years ago, but then I actually do now just run it on a second Mac. I have a M4 MacBook Air, and that's the sacrificial unit. It's always running the betas, no matter what they are, and my main machine, just runs the stable build. And I really, I think it's really easy when you just have a separate computer.
Well, and that is normally how I treat my M4 MacBook Air as the beta device, because I have my Mac Studio. But when traveling, I'm going to be editing videos live in the field. I'm going to be recording podcasts. So I don't want to mess with it. And I know I can create it's no longer called a partition. It's like some other bucket in the APFS file system that you can create, and even on the internal SSD, install a different macOS version and run it like it's on a separate partition, even though it's not technically what it is, or an external SSD. So before I go, I'm going to be trying that, and so I'm going to have some feedback follow-up soon, because I was just asking Claude last night how to do that.
Yeah, and you can also do it from an external drive, and you've got some of those really fast SSDs. You could do that as well. So there are ways to do it. It's been years since the last time I did it. I just bit the bullet, and so I've always got that little laptop, and it's always running the beta. And we were talking before the show on, WWDC announcement day. Who am I kidding? I'm going to be loading all these betas.
Do you run the beta on your iPhone?
I've done it. I mean, it's funny because all my podcast friends are younger than me, and they're all like, oh, when I was young, I would just load the betas, but now I'm old and smart. And I'm the oldest and the dumbest because I always load it up. I love running it, man. I live on the edge, life on the edge.
I did that a few years, and I think back it was like iOS 7 days, which was
that's different. That
was a huge. But I was scarred, I was
that
scarred.
Broke a lot of people.
Yeah, never again. And so, I mean, I needed an excuse to have both an iPhone Air and a Pro Max anyway.
Yeah,
so my iPhone Air is my beta device. I'm going to.
So what you're saying is I need to buy another iPhone. Damn.
I mean, this is Mac Power Users. It's all Apple Power User things. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. But, I wanted to say about, this is your second feedback episode. I was talking to Mr. Hackett recently. We do friend calls now since we don't get on the phone and talk every week for the show. And I was telling him, man, I miss you, but boy, did we get the right guy. I feel like I'm so happy that you're on the show, Stephen. And for folks at home, I just want to say Stephen is a joy to work with. In terms of, not only is he great on the mic, he's great behind the mic, the background stuff, and just really great. So this is going to be a long partnership, I suspect.
Yes, thank you. And I thank you for asking me still. It's still an honor to be here. And It's a pleasure talking to you every week. And it was wild because I've been podcasting for 15 years. I used to podcast in my closet to dozens of downloads.
Yeah.
And last week, all 3 of my shows were in the top 100 tech podcasts. Mac Power Users was up there at like 60-something. Primary Tech was up there. And my little top 5 tech show was up there. And it was just blew my mind to think 15 years ago to today. And I'm so thankful. So thank you again, David.
Well, it is merit. You are very good at this.
Thank you.
So let's talk a bit about feedback. We went into that home. I keep saying HomeKit, the Apple Home show.
Sure.
Home
It's
apps.
both. Whatever. It's HomeKit,
I
Apple
want
Home.
to call it HomeKit so badly because that's really ingrained for me. But I got some good advice from you. Like I said, I had kind of fallen off the Apple Home wagon, and my family was revolting, so I spent money. And I just wanted to report back. We talked a bit about this in the bonus episode where we talked kind of more nitty gritty stuff. But for the main audience, I wanted to kind of check in, and things have evolved for me, frankly, since then. When we did the bonus episode, I was struggling because my Apple Home was like, I think 12 years old, and it was really just having a hard time remembering things. So I nuked it and started over, and things have been solid since then, and I have really gone hard at the Apple Home products. One of which is the Aqara P5 cameras. And that's the ones we talked about there, the power over Ethernet cameras. I bought one power over Ethernet and one Wi-Fi one just to test it. I sent the Wi-Fi one back, got out my ladder and my drill, and I started laying Ethernet cable all around the perimeter. So I've got these cameras now around the exterior of the house, and so far they are fantastic. If you want exterior cameras and you have the ability to do power over Ethernet, I'm telling you right now, you should do it. It is so much better than depending on a Wi-Fi signal.
100%. And it's the Aqara G5. G as in good.
Oh, sorry, G5.
And I'll put a link to everything in the show notes. But my G5 has been on Ethernet for 6 months. It has been great. And the Aqara doorbell, which can also do power over Ethernet. And the one piece of feedback we did get back from our first Smart Home episode was the Aqara G200 is actually not the first power over Ethernet HomeKit. It was HomeKit back in the time. HomeKit Secure Video Doorbell. There is one that exists. It's the Robin Pro line. And in a snarky way, I replied to their YouTube comment with a clip from HomeKit Insider podcast from 10 years ago where I talked about the Robin Pro line thing. But this thing is like $1,200, at least here in the U.S., and it has not been updated in years. And so, I mean, it is an option. It is not an option I would recommend, but that is another one out there.
And the G5 has multiple sensors in it. It's got a light. It's not really a great light, but it does have a light. And, you can do motion sensor. You can use it as a trigger as well as a camera. And like I said, power over Ethernet's the thing. Now, I also want to address those of you in Ubiquity land because I got so much email after we talked about it on the bonus episode from Ubiquity fans. And let me say first, I am one of you. I have drank the forbidden fruit of Ubiquity, and now I have it all throughout my house. And it seems like every month or two I get another box from them with some gizmo I need for my network. But I did not go to Ubiquity cameras. And I know that has upset some people because if you're going to do power over Ethernet, you should use Ubiquity. They're the best, right? And there's a lot of reasons for that. Like you can buy their drives and have local storage and all that. But the reason this all started is because my family was going nuts because they could never see any of the cameras. And I wanted to make it as easy as possible for them. So I went with Apple Home. If you like Ubiquity, I'm not saying you're wrong. They're great. But if you want a really easy Apple Home situation, go with the Aqaras.
Yeah, and I will say there was a couple apps that we wanted to mention, and I forgot to mention on our main episode. We talked about them in the bonus episode. But HomeCam, which is a great app by Aaron Pierce. He makes a bunch of great smart home apps. It's an $8 app, one-time purchase, no subscription, but it's for all your devices, even your Apple TV. It does a really good job so you can see all your camera feeds on your Apple TV. It even has an Apple Watch app, so you can see your camera feeds on your Apple Watch. And I'll shout out just his other apps. One is Home Paper, which you can use one of your own photos, and it specifically crops it, adds a gradient, and makes the image on different rooms in the Home app look really nice. That's just a free app. Recommend that. And Home Pass, which is his app for storing your Matter or Apple codes, little QR codes. And I save all my products in there because sometimes, years from now, you might have to factory reset a device. I've had to factory reset a couple shades over the years, and sometimes the little stickers fall off or you lose that code. And so having them all in this app is really critical. And what's cool is you can actually have the HomePass app on your watch, pull up the QR code, and then just scan it with your phone. So you can do it all just with the Apple devices you have. And it also lets you export everything as a PDF, and I save that in my iCloud drive, which is now backed up with Parachute. So there you go.
Nice. The Home Cam app in particular, if you've got like these cameras I have, now I just, on the Apple TV in the studio here, I can just turn it on and have Home Cam on. And as I'm working, I can see the exterior of the house, When the delivery guy comes or whatever, I just see that. And it feels very, sci-fi. It's like, oh yeah,
it's nice.
We have you under full observation.
That's right. And,
do you put any cameras in the house? Do you do that?
Only, so I have one in the garage pointed at the door. I like jumping in there. I have one on the patio facing the pool. Yeah. And we did that because if we ever have a birthday party and there's little kids around, I will literally, some of the moms, they're like, I don't want to leave my smaller child out by the pool for obvious reasons. Yeah. But I can tell them, actually, I'm going to put the camera feed from the pool on the big TV using HomeCam, and they can just watch the pool from inside and be with all the other parents and moms. Yeah. So I do patio and garage, and I do have my Akara G5 here in the studio because I don't know where to put it, and so it's just staring at me all day right here.
Okay, well, there you go.
So if my wife ever wants to see if I'm really working, she can just jump in there.
Yeah,
see.
I have one in the studio too. Same reason,
right.
Wife tabs, but also I pointed a couple of doors, but I don't have them like the general area of the house. I also did get the Akara doorbell, and even though it does power over Ethernet, I couldn't run Ethernet to that location without massive surgery on the stucco, and it wasn't worth it. So I've got that on Wi-Fi. It's fine. But something that you didn't mention on the show, and I totally forgot, is when you got all these Apple Home cameras connected and you're watching your TV, if you set it up right, your Apple TV, which is kind of the way we watch TV, someone walks up to the door or the doorbell and they just show up on the TV. Yes. And it's great. It really is nice. And the other thing I just got over myself about HomeKit Secure Video. It's okay that it's not 2K, even though my cameras are higher resolution. The recording is good. It's safe. It doesn't cost any extra money, and I feel like that's really great. But yeah, I bought some other stuff. I guess I don't need to go into all of it, but I am slowly upgrading. One thing I do want to call out is Akara has a new motion sensor that's kind of like an all-in-one. It's a door sensor. Like you can set it on a door, you can set it on a window. I set it on the exterior gate. Like I always worry that the gate's going to get open, the dog's going to go on a runner. So I've got that rigged up now. And those new Akara sensors are really nice. You have the name of it real quick.
P100 multi-state sensor.
Yes, multi-state. And I think it's really nice. The one of my kids just moved out on me. They're getting older. They got to do that.
Wild.
So for her apartment, I got her one of those and hooked it up. So when she's at work, if her door opens, she knows it. And it's not intrusive. You don't have to drill any holes. You just stick it on an apartment door, off you go. And I have rediscovered the joy of Apple Home with all the stuff I bought.
It's nice. And one thing I would suggest, if you get a video doorbell or have any cameras, go into the Home app, go to the settings, video doorbells, and then go to people, and you can name people, even if they're not in your contacts. Yeah. It'll recognize faces and put them together, and you can name those people. And then not only does the video show up on Apple TV, the little video preview, but it will say so-and-so is at the door. So if I ring the doorbell on the Apple TV, you'll see on that preview, Stephen Robles is at the door. You'll see the name in notifications. And if you have HomePods, they can announce who is at the door. So I will often, when my daughter's friends come over to play or whatever, it'll say Jane Smith is at the door. And so even if we don't see it, I don't see the notification, I can literally hear the HomePods and it says who's at the door, which is really cool. And you can even like name your UPS driver and you can say UPS is at the door.
And the Apple HomePod as doorbell, man, that is great.
Yes.
It's a nice tone. Like if you've got HomePods throughout your house, like I've got a small HomePod in the bedroom. And just the other day I was upstairs shaving and the doorbell rang and I could hear it because it's got a local speaker. Yeah, it's just nice across the board.
The Aqara G400, I misspoke. I think I said 200 before, but the G400 is that power over Ethernet HomeKit secure video. It's only $100 right now, and it comes with a chime that you can plug into a USB-C power source. But I don't even use that, and I just use my HomePods. Yeah, I never plugged it in.
Yeah.
I never plugged it in. And a couple of things. We did have an email from Eric where I talked about garage door openers on that episode, and there were a few brands that I missed. I just want to throw them out here, and we'll link in the show notes. Tailwind is another brand of Apple Home garage door opener you can try. iSmartGate is another one to try, and Third Reality is even yet another. I have not personally tried any of those. I still stick with my Maris garage door opener because it's been working for years, and it's Wi-Fi. You know, it's not Thread, it's not Matter, but it still has been working great. And Maris has a newer version that supposedly gets around some of that Chamberlain motor nonsense where they were trying to prevent smart home devices from plugging into it. So I'll just link all that stuff below.
I also am now firmly in the bag for Govee. Some other stuff I did. We
got something off camera.
Yeah. Okay. Kind of a side story. All right. I live in Southern California. We're always afraid of fires here, and I built a beautiful Craftsman style patio cover like 30 years ago when we first moved into the house. But it's Doug fir and it's dry. And I had a fire chief friend visit. And he says that's going to be what gets you if the wildfires get close. That's just right attached to your house. It's going to go up like kindling. And I'm like, So I took down my beautiful thing and I put up an aluminum pergola. But I'm like, well, now I need to light it up. So I got some of the Govee house lights. And so I put those around where it can like set colors and do things when people are in the backyard. I also bought some of the Govee strip lights, which have I can put behind cabinets and stuff in the studio to light the studio, interestingly. Historically, I would have used Philips Hue for that, but I just decided I'm going to kind of step away from Philips and use these Govee devices because they're Matter. They just plug in. They're so easy. And so I've got several of those now, too. I just got delivery because I got a deal on the one for the TV.
Yes.
And they just had a sale on Amazon. It was like $100, and it has everything you need to wire your TV. It showed up yesterday, and I'm like, do I really want to do this? Am I going to go that far down the rabbit hole?
It's fun. I will say, so I have the Hue gradient light strip and the Hue sync box, and I don't use it all the time. Like if I'm going to watch Interstellar, I don't want light syncing, but we watched Super Mario Galaxy the other night.
Yeah.
I turn it on for that, and that's always a fun watch.
Yeah.
I will say I have the Govee permanent outdoor lights as well. Those are great. To shout out one other Govee thing, I just got this. Link below is this Govee cordless table lamp. It is rechargeable Matter, so it works directly in Apple Home. You can change the color of this little table lamp, and it's just a little USB-C port that charges it, $70. And so if you want like a little portable lamp, I got one of these, and you can take it outside with you on your patio. You can use it on your nightstand, and that's pretty cool. And one other thing, there were a bunch of IKEA devices that I neglected to mention during our HomeKit episode, and I know they just launched a bunch of stuff. It's all Matter, so it all works on Apple Home. I still have not tried any personally, but there are a bunch of inexpensive IKEA devices, if you want to check those out, and I'll link them below as well.
Yeah. And one last point on Govee, if you just go to their website or on their Amazon store page, they make some crazy stuff.
They do.
Yeah.
I was actually at CES in January, and the Govee booth was like a mini Las Vegas. I mean, it had stuff everywhere, floor lamps, table lamps, light strips. They had outdoor, hedge lights. They make great stuff, and it's come a long way. When Govee first came out, it wasn't Apple Home compatible. It was like, what is this brand? But now they're legit, and they make great stuff.
Yeah. And the last piece of HomeKit I want to follow up is my locks. I did go to the Akara U400 lock. So you just walk up talking about making your significant other happy. She's carrying groceries to the door and the door unlocks. And that's mission accomplished. Although it was a bit of a pain to set it up. I feel like there's kind of a secret handshake if you set one of those up. But so this is the one that uses I guess it's ultra wideband. I don't know all the technology underneath of it, but if your phone gets near it from the outside, the door unlocks. If your phone gets near it from the inside, it does not unlock.
Correct.
And this is the ultimate. It doesn't have to see your face. It doesn't have to see your thumbprint. It just unlocks when you get close to it, and that's really nice.
It's really nice. I did a whole video on it. I'll link below. I'm using it too on one of my doors, and I love it.
Okay. So we got some listener questions in. In the last week, I mentioned in passing, we were talking to Marco that I bought a new home scale. People are like, "All right, Sparky, which scale did you get?"
And I actually have a smart scale too. I'm curious if you got the same one, but I wanted it to, automatically do all the Apple Health stuff and be fancy or whatever. And I will say I got the Withings one, the Withings Smart Scale. It's like $100 and connects via Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, and it reads your weight and muscle and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, I think I should have got the Withings scale because
okay.
Yeah, this has evolved. So I just had it when we recorded with Marco, and the idea is I wanted one that would measure my fat versus muscle mass.
Yeah.
And, so it has a handle you pull up and you hold up and, it does its thing and gives you a reading. Over the course of the week, I've realized this thing is not accurate at all. And
really?
Which is, the one I got is Renpho, RENPHO, and I'm sending it back. But the weight, I will step on it and it'll say, one weight, and then I'll step on it 30 seconds later and it'll say I'm 3 pounds heavier or lighter. And the muscle mass is the same thing. It varies, 5-10% in moments, like just taking 2 readings. And I mean, I understand that these things aren't super accurate, and I don't expect any of them to be, but I do want them to be consistent, right? Because, the whole idea is to see the trend lines, not necessarily to take it as gospel, what it tells you your weigh or what your mass is. Yeah. And so I think this isn't going to work. I'm sending it back, and I'm back in the market. I would like to find one to track that. It's something as I get older, I really want to do a good job of not, losing muscle mass. And so that's something I'm working on. But so I don't get what I bought.
Okay, well, I have the Withings one. It's $130. But it connects to Apple Health, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all that kind of stuff. And it does the same thing that you're looking for. It does the fat percentage and muscle.
Oh, it does?
And I actually did the, it does fat percentage. I'll have to see if it actually does the muscle. I believe it does. Yeah, increased muscle mass. I think so. So I actually went to the doctor a couple weeks ago for something, and I had just weighed myself recently, and I was curious, how accurate is this to the scale at the doctor's office? And it was within 1 pound. And so I can attest from being at the actual doctor, at least their scale versus the Withings, it has been accurate. And I'm curious your practice on this, David. I don't weigh myself every day because that just is I don't know, it would give me stress. So I weigh myself once a week and I track it that way. And it has been accurate as, I've been losing weight over the last 6 months. So are you a daily, weekly? What do you do?
I am trying to do it daily because I feel like that's a good way to keep myself accountable.
Sure.
You and I are both working on stuff, and at least at this point, I need to do it daily. But see, I'm looking Withings has always been the ones that seem like they're the best for this kind of stuff. But the body scan scale that they have is $500.
Oh, sheesh.
And the one I bought was much less. So you get what you pay for. Maybe Renpho makes a better one that's more expensive, but I think what I'm going to do is just, I don't know. I think I'm just going to keep a regular scale and just every time I go, because my doctor does have the machine you stand on that does it properly.
Okay.
And
I've seen a reel where the real hack is to put the scale right in front of the refrigerator. So every time you get something out of the fridge, you got to step on it. So yeah, I don't want to go that far.
Yeah.
It's been fun. All right. Well, there was actually a question from Bill, and he said, inquiring minds want to know, what is the story behind the Millennium Falcon out in David's photo? And I think that was in the old photo we shared a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I guess that either that or it's a labs video, but yeah, so I have in my backyard, I like to grow bonsai. So I've got a bunch of little trees out there, but I like to decorate them. And Daisy, my wife, works for Disney, and as one of the privileges of being a Disneyland employee is you get access to what they call property control. And imagine like a warehouse where they just take stuff that they don't need anymore and they sell it really cheap. You know, like I was just there over the weekend. I bought some flag banners for 4th of July decorations. But they also at Disneyland, they sell these very expensive popcorn buckets, you know, and they're like themed, you know?
Yes.
But it's ridiculous how much money they charge for them. And they're not buckets, they're toys, honestly, you know?
Sure.
But there's always damaged ones. So every time I go to property control, I buy some of those. That Millennium Falcon was one of those. I've got like 7 or 8 of those in the backyard, and I set them up around my bonsai trees. So that's the story. Sometimes I hang them. Sometimes I just stick them in the garden.
If your wife ever hears about one of those property sales over here in Orlando, you got to let me know, because I'd be out there.
Yeah, you got to be, like, they're very strict. Like I'm allowed to get in because I'm her husband, but I think I have to have her with me. And it's just really weird. Like, there'll be like a filing cabinet and like, just, strange stuff, or there'll be chairs that they had in a restaurant that they don't want anymore. It's just weird stuff. But those buckets, if there's a Star Wars themed bucket that's there and they're pennies on the dollar, they're very cheap. They're just getting rid of stuff. My wife's standing instruction, just buy it and I'll find a place in the garden for it.
Okay.
And then, of course, the sun destroys them. So there's, they kind of come and go, right?
Sure. All right. So Darkwing in the forums had a question. Just dusted off my DSLR. What software are you using to process your raw photos? And I'll be honest, I don't take a ton of raw photos anymore. Most are with my iPhone. In the rare occasion I do, it's probably because I'm doing a thumbnail or something, and I will bring it directly into Pixelmator and process it there, basically. Otherwise, I'll probably just drag them into the Photos app and do whatever there.
Yeah.
I used to have Lightroom as part of like my work, so I've never really paid for Lightroom myself. It's always been part of my job. And I realized just recently that my login no longer works for Lightroom because it's the company's login.
Sure.
So I don't use Lightroom anymore, apparently, because I don't have access.
You and I are both like, formerly serious photographers who have kind of stepped back, it seems like. And like you, when I have raw photos, I just use Pixelmator Pro. It's very good at it, and that's good enough. I've never really gone all the way down the rabbit hole with the Adobe products because I've never needed them.
Yeah.
And I know people get a lot more out of them. I know like their generative AI stuff with their photos is amazing, where you can add clouds or whatever. But but just for cleaning up a raw photo, I use Pixelmator Pro. But I don't think Darkwing, that's probably the best solution. I'm sure I know people who are better photographers than I that would laugh at that and use Adobe or something more powerful.
And I think Lightroom is still the default. Jason, my co-host, he's a photographer. He was at the F1 race in Montreal last weekend.
Yeah.
And I know he's bringing all those photos into Lightroom to edit those. So if I was doing it for real, I would pay a Lightroom subscription to do all that stuff. But for me, it's Pixelmator Pro and just the Photos app.
Yeah. Javert wrote in, Spokenly is also a good dictation app.
Have you heard of Spokenly? I was curious.
I have not, but there are so many dictation apps now because the Whisper model is open source. So anybody that wants to make a dictation app and it's good can make one. I get emails from new developers with new dictation apps almost daily because I've written about it enough on the internet that people know I'm interested in this. And I got to tell you, I don't test them all. I mean, there's just too many. And I just kind of got to a point where I found some that work for me. And if something else rises up, through collective conscious, I'll look at it. But there are a lot of these applications now.
The one thing I will say is Spokenly, looking at their pricing page, they actually let you use your own API keys.
Yeah.
So if you want to use your OpenAI key, because you already pay for tokens there, you can do that. It can also use local models, which is cool. So we'll link Spokenly. And G. Javert also recommended another cool photo app called Image, which is a self-hosted photo and video management solution for backup or just another way to manage photos. And so just wanted to shout those out.
Yeah. And that's one of the real advantages of some of these apps, like Mac Whisper does this too, is you download local models, it does it for you locally. And that's really nice. So if you have a privacy related job, lawyer, doctor, somebody who can't send information to the cloud, that's all you can do. But, there's great solutions for you there too.
Yeah. All right. So Derek put something in our forums, and I wanted to bring it up to you.
Yeah.
Because we've now both mentioned that we've connected our emails to AIs.
Yeah.
I'm using the Fastmail MCP, and I've connected that to Claude. You're using the Google, connected that to Claude Cowork as well. And he was saying this is dangerous, which he's not wrong. It could be dangerous. And, connecting to an external bot and all of that. And so I'm curious, your current mind space of, is this, what is the risk reward continuum that you feel we're at right now with your email, with AI, and your level of trust and comfort?
Yeah, this, in the robot field guide, we do these weekly Builders Club meetings, and this is a regular question. It's like, should I connect it to my email? And I always tell people it's a personal decision because it is a risk, and you're letting, in my case, the Anthropic servers read your email. Like if I was still a practicing lawyer, that's just a no-go. That couldn't happen. But for what I'm doing, my current profile is I'm letting it read the Max Sparky email. And the Superhuman, since the last time we talked about this, the Superhuman MCP is really good. They've really done a good job on it. So I've got the ability to do virtually anything with email via the robot. And that is a risk, I guess, but I don't really feel like it's a huge risk. I don't have any financial information coming into that email account. But it's just, and the payoff for me is huge, because it allows me to keep up with customer support stuff faster. And it really allows me to work more efficiently. I do have an executive assistant in the form of my robot, and the email piece is a huge piece. But what I do tell people is if you don't want to do that, and I totally get it, if you don't or you can't, there are degrees of this where you can be a little more conservative. One of them that I recommend is just make a dummy Gmail account. We can all make Gmail accounts easy enough, and use the Gmail MCP and connect that to your robot and just forward anything that you're willing to let the robot read to that account. One of the things I do is it automatically looks through all of my incoming correspondence that relates to receipts and transactions. If I buy a new shirt, I get a receipt, right? It sees the receipt, it goes in Obsidian, it has a record for that vendor. It writes down on this date he bought the shirt. It has a link to the receipt email, and just it just keeps records of all the stuff that I buy. And that's really helpful to me to have that. If later, where's that shirt? I can go and just click the button. It finds the email for me, or I can just see how much money I spent on shirts this year.
Right.
So it does all that stuff. I don't touch it. All that stuff is automated in the background because it can read my email. But if you wanted to just, record your shirts, you could just send them to that secret Gmail account and have it do that without exposing the rest of your email. So there's levels to this. And I know I've got the emails from people telling me what a mistake I'm making by doing this, but it's just so useful, Stephen, that I'm willing to do it.
And I want to, I totally get the hesitation, and I have to put a level of trust in Anthropic, because I have connected my Fastmail via MCP to Claude, and I have several scheduled tasks running, and I'll do things now where if I want to search my email, I will go to Claude rather than the mail app on my iPhone, because I get a better end result, and I can get the information I want from the email without having to go to a specific message, scroll around, look, where was this in the thread? Yeah. And so I found benefit there, but I have not given it write access. So it can't send emails on my behalf. That's the little toggle that's available in the Claude Cowork part of the app. So it can read, it can even draft emails, but not send them. Now, I am putting trust in Anthropic that little toggle actually does something, that it's not going to send an email without my express permission. I've been doing it for the last several months, and it's been accurate. It's not sent any drafts without me knowing. But one of the things I do is I now have it, because I get a ton of email every day, a lot of them from potential sponsors for YouTube, but a lot of them are like spammy or scammy and like not real. But it's hard because they're in the middle of all these other newsletters and different things that I have filtered through. And so I have Claude running a scheduled check, and it just says, look at the last email, the last 24 hours of email. If anything looks like a sponsor, draft an email that says, would love to work together, and just keep that in drafts. Yeah. And so now I can actually go to my drafts email folder and see all the potential sponsor emails and choose whether or not to send them and attach my rates or whatever. And that has saved me some time and a little bit of stress to think I'm not missing a sponsor, because Claude is now looking through all of those. So yes, it is a risk. You know, your password reset could go through your email, but I think I'm trusting Anthropic enough. Now, one example I will give, and I mentioned this to you in a past episode, I don't know if we were recording, but I had a scheduled task running on a Mac Mini server in my house that was using the Claude browser extension to do something in the web. And it was running every hour to check something and send me a notification, you know, if something was in stock or not. And the weirdest thing started happening where I would be using the Brave browser on my Mac Studio to record a show like we are right now, and that scheduled task would actually start happening on my Mac Studio, even though the scheduled task was in Claude on my Mac Mini. And that kind of weirded me out. I'm not sure why that was happening, and I would literally, even if I had Claude fully quit on my Mac Studio, it would still run, and it would still happen. So that weirded me out a little bit, and I uninstalled the Claude plugin for Brave on my Mac Studio, but I'm still running the Claude app and still doing Cowork things because it's using the MCP servers in the background. So listen, I totally get it, and it's just kind of a risk-reward continuum. And for me, and I think for you, there's enough benefit there where we're doing it. We're doing it.
Yeah, and I'm always looking at it. Like, for instance, Anthropic Claude local app has computer use where it can drive your mouse and keyboard. And I almost never have that turned on. Only in extreme cases will I turn it on, and only while I'm sitting here in front of it. And as soon as I'm done using it, I turn it off. And like, so we all kind of find our balance with this stuff. I'm pretty hesitant to use third-party MCPs. You know, so there are uses, and like you also, I'm very careful about what approvals I get it and the configurations of those MCPs, because you can turn a lot of that stuff off. But it's a thing, and I'm using it. And on your point with the running the Chrome in two different devices, Claude knows that it has Chrome or Brave access, and it does get confused about what computer it's currently on, and it will try and trigger it on the other computer at some point. This is one of those things where the people who just have one laptop can tell me that they've got it easier, because that's true. For scheduled tasks, this kind of stuff, running an AI agent and having two computers actually has some friction that they haven't resolved yet.
Yeah, and one thing I just want to shout out on the positive side, you know, if you're using Claude or Codex from OpenAI, last week, Federico Fatici over at Mac Stories actually released Shortcuts Playground, which is something he's been working on for 6 months, and it's basically a plugin, either for Claude or OpenAI Codex, that allows you to prompt it and build shortcuts through the Claude interface using Claude code, and you get a installable shortcut file that just runs on your Mac. And he has a long article on Mac Stories about it. And then I did a video talking about it. That's my YouTube face, where I said, did I just lose my shortcuts job?
Yeah.
And I won't spoil it, but turns out AI is still not as good as humans building it, mostly because it struggles to connect variables in shortcuts, and sometimes like connect the right repeat item to the action. And so my shortcuts job is safe for now. We're still good.
Although I would say, doing these Robot Builders Club meetups every Monday. And by the way, I've extended that now through the end of August. If you want to get on it, go get it in the Robot Field Guide. But people have gone beyond shortcuts. I mean, people who are not developers every week are showing up with apps or automations that they've written through Claude Code and Claude Cowork that are doing real work for them. We're entering a very interesting phase with productivity apps because people are just going to make their own solutions.
Yeah, and I've actually been using this entire recording, which is to mark timestamps using a shortcut, but it's using script written by Claude. So we're going to get to that in a little bit because I think it's going to save me a bunch of time. One last follow-up before we get to Stream Decks. We talked about photos a couple weeks ago and our photo process, and I was inspired to kind of create a YouTube video because there's so much in the Photos app I've neglected to cover and that I just forget about. And so I'm curious, do you go in like to the people and the faces tab and like program that stuff and do memories, or do you just kind of let that stuff go? Like, how much do you get in there?
The faces stuff I did a lot more at the beginning, but now they're so well trained, they pretty much work. The memories we use a lot of because when we do family gatherings at the house, one of the usual things we fall back on at some point is after we've, ate and we're digesting, we lay on the couch, we put the Apple TV up and we just play memories. And depending on who's visiting, we play memories that include them. And now with the AI memory generation thing, it's even better. And the kids yell out, I want to see Disneyland when I was a baby. Okay, well, push a couple buttons and it makes a video, or even just say a few words. So yeah, we use it a lot. I don't tinker with it too much, but I execute it a lot when we have people here.
The memory features, it's really good now. I would recommend, if you do anything in the Photos app to make a better experience, it's going to those collections, going to people, naming the people, and then you can even create groups. And this is something that I didn't really intentionally do until recently, but you can literally group your kids' faces and say, these are my kids. And that creates a group called My Kids.
Yeah.
And I have a group called Our Fam, which is my 3 kids and me and my wife.
Yeah.
And then when you go to create a memory, you can literally say, show me pictures of my kids from 2015.
Yeah.
And it will, when you create that memory and you're typing in that prompt, it'll actually highlight the My Kids and say, is this like, do you want to choose the group My Kids? And when you do that, it will create the memory and include images and videos with just those faces. You can do the fam, and you can even, that makes search really powerful too, because you could say, show me photos of me and my kids at restaurants. And it will just do that search, and it will use the faces feature and recognize. And having kids and photos in my library from when they were born as babies, I don't know what, they would not be born otherwise, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
from when they were babies till now, my oldest is 17, the faces feature is surprisingly good. And even if you just train it once, it will get those younger photos, and even as they get older. It's pretty wild.
And like the audio track, it like hits with the audio. I mean, it's just fantastic. I mean, that's stuff that we used to spend a lot of time making ourselves, and now you just get it for free. Stephen, people who listen to the show know that I have a long-running affection with the Elgato Stream Deck, but we haven't really talked about it since you came on the show, and I know you have your own Stream Deck journey. So tell us, what are you doing with the Stream Deck?
I got one of the first Stream Decks when it came out because once I heard that it could run shortcuts, I was like, well, this is going to be amazing. Plus, there were lots of plugins for like audio and video production equipment. So I've had Stream Decks for a while. The Stream Deck pedal was awesome. When that came out, I got that and connected it to my A10 mini switcher because I could do live streams and then switch with my feet. And I was like, this is game changing. Like I could turn on picture-in-picture with my foot. I can switch camera angles with my foot. That was awesome. And now we're in the age of like Stream Deck and Stream Deck XL. And I had the Stream Deck Plus most recently, where you have the 4 knobs at the bottom, and it has about 8 buttons, and you can program that. Really loved it. I was using it both for shortcuts, for video switching, for things like Clean Shot X. And then they actually launched the Stream Deck Plus XL, and they did send this to me. So I didn't buy this one. I bought all the previous ones, but I have the Stream Deck Plus XL, David. This thing, like we talked about it before, has 6 knobs. It has 32 buttons, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times 4, 36 buttons. And the reason why I was tempted by it is because I used paging on the Stream Deck a lot, where I programmed a knob where when I would turn the knob, it would go to another page and I would have a whole bunch of other shortcuts. But what I found is when it was one turn away, I would just use those shortcuts and Stream Deck buttons way less because I would just end up using the buttons that were readily available. So I was like, what if I didn't have to page through at all? And so I use now the Stream Deck Plus XL, and I have every button filled. I have a section of it. I'll put a picture in the show notes. I have a section of it where it's all my video switcher controls, so I can switch camera angles. Like I can literally switch to my Mac right here. If you're watching, I can literally put picture-in-picture on, and I'm doing all of this live from my Stream Deck. I have a bunch of shortcuts for my studio scenes. I have shortcuts for audio hijack scenes, and there's one shortcut which I just made, and I'm going to get into more detail in a little bit, where whenever I need to mark a timestamp as we record Mac Power users for an edit, a sponsor break, or a chapter, I can tap one button on my Stream Deck. It runs a shortcut, which runs a script and does something with audio hijack and puts a timestamp in a bare note for me, and it's wonderful. And so I'm all in.
So does it distinguish between like talk over and edit points and ads, or just puts a timestamp in?
So when I run it, a choose from menu pops up. Okay. And right now I just have programmed edit, sponsor, and chapter. Yeah. And so I will manually click one of those. But I can add whatever I want because the choose from menu is, I can create it and I can do whatever. But it is wonderful. But the Stream Deck, having all those controls at a fingertip away, and for Clean Shot X, a bunch of keyboard shortcuts that I forget for things like capture area and then capture previous area, which I do during like Apple events, where I'll have the keynote playing, I want to capture the video, and then I want to recapture that same area of my screen to get the bento box, to get whatever announcement. And those are Stream Deck buttons, so I can capture the area and then do the capture previous area, start and stop audio hijack sessions. It's wonderful. I love it.
Yeah, I have not got the Stream Deck Plus XL. I think it's probably too big for my desk, because I've got a shelf on my desk, and the existing Stream Decks I have fit underneath it very nicely, and I just don't think. But I'm a believer, and I have had various numbers of them over the years. Sometimes mine go away with my wife took one to work. The pedal eventually gave up on me, so I haven't used that anymore.
Mine gave up too.
And because it's a sit-stand desk, it was always kind of difficult, to deal with. So I didn't find myself using it as much as I thought I would. But the two that are currently in rotation is a Stream Deck Plus, which is the one with the 4 dials. And on that one, across the top, you're going to love this, Stephen. I've got the date and the time.
Well, David, you have the date and time on your Stream Deck?
Yeah, I know. Totally
and you have
useless.
2 huge monitors in front of you.
I know. I never look at it. I need to deal with that. But
and don't you have your iPhone in standby mode with the date and time?
No. No, not right now.
Oh,
but the 4 active buttons, I've got like the zoom, turn off the microphone, turn off the camera thing.
Sure.
So if you need to do that suddenly and you're on a Zoom call, I can do that quickly. And then I've also got the start record and end record buttons, which run very extensive automations. Like, another thing I've added since we had our shows, I've added robot blinds, which is amazing. So now when I'm going to start recording, I press one button, the blinds close, the lights dim, everything just happens. And I got that inspiration from you. For the 4 dials, I'm using, one is a music volume, which is, both these are just Apple scripts that I wrote in, and one controls the overall volume of the system, because like it's difficult to control music versus system volume independently. So I've got that. And then I had some to adjust. I had a couple Elgato lights, but I have pulled those out of the system. I need to rewire those 2 controls. I've played with the idea of like using them as a scrub control, like when I'm in a video processing, but they're really not up to that, in my opinion. Yeah. So one question for you is, you've got, was it 6 dials now
I got 6 dials, yeah.
What are you doing with all those dials?
Not using them to their full potential because they were used mostly for pagination before.
Yeah.
And so now I have a couple, you can turn the dial and you can also press the dial as a button.
Yeah.
I have system volume, I have studio display brightness, and I have stream deck brightness as dials. And I still have them as paging. I have a few dials as paging, and they just page to nothing because I don't have any more controls there. So I don't know yet how to fully maximize my dials.
Yeah, and next to that, I have a Stream Deck XL, which is used to be the biggest one, the 32-button one. And that is full. Now, in the past, I've done this in different ways where I had different phases. Like you could use the bottom row to jump between different series of them. Yeah. But I'm not doing that now. Lately, I've been trying to just get everything on one screen. One of the things I do a lot is because I use the robot so much with Obsidian, I have these, I call them canonical pages. One is the dispatch. The robot creates it twice a day and says, hey, today is this date. This is what's on your calendar. This is the stuff that is on your to-do list. These are the upcoming deadlines, or maybe you've got a sponsor post you should be working on. And it just kind of, it's like the idea of the executive assistant. Like I push a button on the Stream Deck and that comes up on my screen and tells me what I should do. I've got a bunch of those. I got another one called Mailbag that like puts the mail I should respond to, and just different kind of setups like that the AI is able to generate based on what it knows about me. So I've got a bunch of buttons for that. With all of the home stuff and the lighting setups, I've got all that stuff on it as well. I always want to make sure the lights are on when my wife comes home and it's dark. I've got that automatically, so the porch light goes on and stuff. But sometimes, for whatever reason, it's not on. So if I look over and it's dark, I'll turn the lights on that way. I can also lock doors in the house with buttons. Yeah. And then I've got a bunch of just different audio controls that I use when I'm recording. So I've got it within 32 buttons plus another 8 and 4 dials now. But I really love it. Do you use the Elgato software?
Just to control the Stream Deck, and program that. I do still have 2 Elgato Key Light Airs, which they don't make anymore. They have different lights now, but I still use those. And honestly, Elgato just revamped their entire software stack. So they now have an app called Studio. It's like Elgato Studio. And they released a bunch of products that are basically made for streamers and audio production. And, if you go all in and just get all the Elgato things, like the microphone, the capture devices, the audio interface, like it does all work really well together. Yeah. And it sounds great. Everything will look great. Because I'm kind of piecemeal to set up, I'm still using my Rodecaster Pro 2. I still have my Blackmagic video capture device. I'm not using the whole Elgato ecosystem, but if I was starting from scratch and streaming was a priority or doing live calls and live streams, the Elgato stuff is really nice right now.
Yeah, I agree. I used to use the Elgato Wave, which was inconsistent for me. I feel like the Rodecaster is better. But I use the Elgato low profile boom mic.
Yes.
I'm a fan. Like most of the stuff I buy. I've also got the Elgato prompter, which I use on occasion. I don't keep that installed permanently. Like right now, as we're recording, I'm looking at a camera without a prompter on it. But occasionally, when I do like teaching sessions and I've got an extensive outline, I'll set it up. But I don't keep it on all the time. But it's like the best solution for that. And now they've made a giant prompter too. If you're in a big studio, they make one that's even bigger. But they have a lot of cool stuff. But the Stream Deck to me is my favorite. Once we get you into Keyboard Maestro, I'm going to teach you how to make Keyboard Maestro scripts run off your buttons, and that is a huge game changer.
That'll be super fun. I actually, with the Elgato prompter, I do have the smaller one. I don't use it super often, but I tell people if you're going to do a lot of interview type podcasts or calls and you want to be always looking into the camera, but also see your guest, just get that. It's way easier than using like your phone or your iPad and getting one of those kind of mounting things. Like the Elgato one is just made for it. And I will say, I actually had the occasion when I was working at another company to set up a pretty big tech guy's like studio. I won't say his name, but he's married to a tennis player. And like I just gave him the Elgato prompter, set it up with a Sony camera. He was like, yeah, this is perfect. Like this is exactly what I want. And highly recommend.
a bunch of my labs members are like fancy businessmen, right? And they are women, and they do a lot of Zoom calls, and I know several of them get these the Elgato prompter. So just when you're doing all your Zoom calls, you're always looking at the person you talk to, because it's so easy to turn your head and look at the person on screen, and then you're not actually looking at the person according to them.
Right.
And that's a very easy solution.
Oh, and I think someone asked in one of our last episodes, what are your smart shades? Which ones did you get?
I got the ones you recommended.
The Canisteo?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's the ones I still recommend, and that's the ones that I have.
Yeah, they're great.
They're great. Matter over thread. You can get blackout 100%, 70%, and they're awesome.
Yeah, I got blackout because I'm in the studio. One time in the month or so I've been running them, they just didn't show up in Apple Home. I don't know why. And I didn't have time to deal with it, so I pulled out the remote of my drawer, closed them, and came downstairs the next morning, and they were working.
Yeah.
But I work a lot of early mornings, and it's really nice because I have them set automatically to open when the sun rises.
Yes.
So I come down here in the dark, and I'm working, and then suddenly the shades go up, and daylight's here. It's like, okay, time to go take a shower.
Let me get ready.
Yeah.
And real quick, I want to show you my shortcut that I did build for the time stamper. And so if you use Audio Hijack to record anything or Audio Hijack has a script library. You go to the window in the menu bar, and then you go to script library. There's a bunch of built-in scripts, and then there's a place where you can run or add user scripts. And this script I asked Claude to help me build. I wanted to pull the timestamp of a currently running session, and I had to have the script then put that timestamp on my clipboard, because Audio Hijack has a shortcuts action, but that action doesn't output anything to subsequent actions.
Yeah.
So I had to figure out a way to get it back, that actual timestamp, and I'll put a screenshot of this script in the show notes as an image if you want to look at it. But that script is in Audio Hijack, and then what I do in shortcuts, it's a little... I'll put a link to this shortcut, but it's probably not going to work for anybody else. But you can customize it to work for you.
Yeah.
I basically, I have a folder that's created every Tuesday morning for the next MPU episode, and it numbers the folder automatically by looking at the previous folder and just adding one. It does that calculation. So I have a folder sitting on my Mac with the current Mac Power Users episode that we're about to record.
Yeah.
So I will literally... in the shortcut, I start by getting the contents of my MPU episodes folder. I get the latest item, which is the folder, and the episode number is the name of that folder.
Yeah.
And then I run that script in Audio Hijack. This is an Audio Hijack shortcuts action that gets the timestamp, puts it on my clipboard. And then in the shortcut after that, I wait a couple seconds just to make sure everything ran. I get the clipboard. I have a choose from menu, and I choose edit, sponsor, or chapter. It puts the timestamp that the script provided that was on my clipboard in whatever text block in my choose from menu. And then I also have a bare note created every Tuesday morning with the new MPU episode number. So I get that bare note, and then I just append whatever that menu result was to the note. And now I have a bare note with all of our edit points, sponsors, and chapter markers, and I'm running that shortcut from my Stream Deck. It's great.
Bless you, Stephen.
Thank you. I'll send that to you too. I'll send that to you.
I could use that. Another way you could do that, I was thinking, is you could, because if you want to go down the Stream Deck rabbit hole, in the Stream Deck software, you can have secondary actions on buttons. So you could have it where you press the button to trigger the script, and then the choose from menu is 3 more buttons that show up. And you just pick from one of those, and you press that. And you don't have to click the mouse on a choose from menu. You do the whole thing on the Stream Deck.
Interesting. I might do that. Or at the very least, I might have, because I have a lot of Stream Deck buttons to my disposal, just create 3 distinct buttons to say edit, chapter, sponsor, and maybe I'll do that. But
because you would only need, it would only be 2 more buttons, right? Because you wouldn't need the generic one.
Right.
And the reason I asked you about Stream Deck software is you can also drive a Stream Deck with Better Touch Tool. It has controls for Stream Deck. And I know a lot of people have done that. I've used it in the past. And I'm a big fan of a Better Touch Tool, but I found that in the last few years, the Stream Deck software has improved a lot, and it's kind of nice using their software for this stuff. Yeah,
it's got a long way, and I'll link their new studio software in the show notes as well. Now we have follow up to the follow up to the follow up.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna keep this short. I know this has been going on.
The Backblaze saga. Someone wrote in, Florian. What they say?
Well, Florian got a hold of them and said, "Hey, what's going on? You know, we talked about is Backblaze getting your photos or not?" And he said that they informed him that they've reversed course on iCloud and Google Drive and are exploring the add-on for Dropbox and OneDrive. He explicitly asked if his iCloud photo library is now again included, and they said yes, and he confirmed it. I know Florian; he's a smart guy, so that's good to hear. We also heard from
Brendan.
Yeah, Brendan, who also confirmed it's working. So apparently, the people have spoken and they fixed it.
Yeah.
Good.
And that's great. And so Backblaze is an option. I've been using Parachute since I mentioned it, and it's running weekly backups on my iCloud, and it's been good. And I get a little, it's good.
Yeah, I feel like I'm never going to be happy, Stephen. Now that we got you backing up, I'd like to get you to do an offsite. I'd like you to do
offsite back. That's just, isn't the iCloud the offsite? Everything's
no, it's not. The iCloud is not a backup, Stephen.
Okay.
It's
all
not.
right.
Okay, this is what I'm saying. Next time you see a cheap hard drive, which may be never, these things are going.
Never again.
But so I did this. At Costco for like $200, I got 2 8-terabyte spinning drives, and I just like once a month I run a carbon copy cloner script that like takes all the good stuff and updates one. And every time I see my sister, I give her the last one, and she gives me it's just a rotating set of drives that go to her house.
Like a Mission Impossible deal. You're like,
yeah. And she sticks it in a drawer, and it's no big deal. And like, the idea is like if somebody broke in and stole your computer, or in my case, my house burned down because of a wildfire, I would like to have my data somewhere else. I know and I also have a Backblaze account, so I've gone deep, but I have heard the war stories from our listeners, and it's terrible. It is just terrible.
We do have hurricanes in Florida, so it's not without reason. But I will say, now that I'm thinking about it, my mom's house, she lives about 35 minutes away from me, and we're over there often, but she has fiber internet.
Oh, boy.
She can have a pretty fast connection if she wanted to. And now I'm thinking, well, that would be a business expense if I put a network attached storage over there.
Yeah.
And
get
use
her a Synology or a Ubiquiti.
Finally use Tailscale. I've never set that up. Everyone says Tailscale, and Marco talked about Tailscale last week. And I've just been using screens from Edovia for years, and it's worked so well. It's hard to figure out a reason to try Tailscale. But then I could technically have that network attached storage at my mom's house, think it's on the same network as my Mac and network attached storage is over here, and run a weekly copy something. So,
man, if you do that, then your offsite backup will be better than mine, and the student will have become the master.
All right, that's enough motivation. I'm gonna get it done. Get it done. That's awesome. All right, well, and speaking of stuff we're playing with, I guess I'm going to be playing with Tailscale pretty soon. But what are you doing over there? I see a couple things.
I've got 2 things I wanted to mention. The first is I got a new piece of hardware. It's are you familiar with Terminal, TRMNL?
I actually have one right over here.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so they made this small device a while ago.
Yeah, I got the small one.
Yeah, and they just came out with a new one. And it's bigger.
You got the date. The date.
No, it does not have the date. It has the countdown to my vacation. 18 days.
Okay. I thought I had the day and date again.
But it also has the weather, and it has my calendar. And and it just flips between those all day. It's about the size of I think about an 11-inch screen, but it's a better screen than the one that they used to have. And it's just better in every way. They made a new one. It's not that much more money. I have the small one as well that we hung on the wall in the kitchen, and I guess I should back up a little bit. It's a e-ink device with a very simple operating system that can be driven by the web, and so you go on, you buy one. It's open source, so you could build your own, but it's easier to just get their stuff. Go on the website, you put in a couple plugins, and it drives data. It could be a picture, it could be a piece of poetry, it could be your calendar, and it only refreshes. I think at the fastest refresh is like 5 minutes, but the idea is you just leave it and every half hour or so it flashes to some other data. And it's just really useful. And I got this new one. I was going to hang it in the kitchen too, but I like having it in the studio. It's got like my calendar is always there, or the weather, or like I said, right now I've got the countdown for the vacation. Got a couple more things it does. When I first bought it, I thought, well, that was a little extravagant buying a second one. But man, the new one, the Terminal X, is better in every way. If you haven't gone into it yet, just buy the Terminal X and check it out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have the small one. You can even do things like, if you want to put your YouTube subscribers or something like that on there, you could do all that. I heard about it from Snazzy Labs a couple of years ago. He has a couple of videos on it, but it's a very cool device. And, e-ink, cheap, rechargeable. It's pretty sweet. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I have yet to recharge it. I've had it like 3 weeks. I don't know what the battery level currently is. One day I'll walk in here and it won't have the countdown on it, and I'll have to charge it up. But USB-C, you can tell that with this new Terminal X, they learned a lot of lessons with the first one. One other thing I want to call out, DevonThink 4.3. DevonThink, I'm a big fan of DevonThink. It's just a great software. We've talked about it. We've done full shows on the Mac Power Users. But I think the new version really deserves to be called out. They did an MCP for DevonThink, Model Context Protocol. Getting back to what we were talking about earlier, so now you can have your robot look at all of your data in DevonThink. And for a lot of us, that's a lot of data. Like I put tons of PDFs and resource documents in there, and it was always kind of a pain to give the robot access to that stuff if I wanted it for reference, and context is the whole game with robots. And now DevonThink just solves the problem. I feel like this makes me just want to put more stuff into DevonThink. And congratulations to the team. They did it right. They did it with a privacy focus, so you can decide what vaults show and what vaults don't, so you can just lock it out of certain things. And they gave you a ton of functions in the MCP of what it can and can't see. Everything is customizable by you. Good job, DevonThink team. Doesn't surprise me at all that they did it right, but they did it right.
That's awesome. And I'll just do a couple quick shout outs. I think we might have mentioned it in our menu bar episode, but I finally downloaded it and I'm using MenuWare, which is a really cool little utility. It's a few bucks, and basically you can hold down a hotkey, right click, and it'll have whatever the app's menu bar options that would normally be all the way up in the menu bar. It's right where your mouse cursor is. Yeah. And it's very cool. And so I've been using that and enjoying it. I've also been using Short Run, which is another Sunzure Surhouse app. He makes some amazing apps. He does Short Cutie, Supercharged. We talked about that before. And Short Run, you would think this is unnecessary because the main purpose is just to run shortcuts from your menu bar, and you can organize them in folders and drop down menus. But for some reason, my shortcuts have been wigging out. And I talked a few weeks ago about I lost a few hundred shortcuts through an iCloud sync thing. Yeah. And ever since then, I've not been able to add shortcuts to my menu bar control center at all. They won't appear. So I'm just using his app, Short Run, which is a menu bar icon. I can organize shortcuts, and they don't, it's just plain menus, just plain text menus. So it doesn't look as nice as, you're the control center, but it's super functional and it works consistently. So that's great.
I love his software. And we'll put a link in the notes, but if you just want to treat yourself to a utility, you can literally buy anything from him and it'll make your life better. You're going to know if it's useful for you, but if there's something there that looks like it'll scratch an itch for you, it will scratch the itch.
That's it. All right. And finally, David, I can't even put a link to this in the show notes. I mean, I could, but it'll only load for some people. Okay. My piece of contraband.
Yeah. What is this?
It is the Osmo Pocket 4.
Oh, wow. You got it. That's illegal.
It is literally ungettable here in the United States. But a friend of mine, I don't want to reveal their name because, who knows? But they were in China and they were like, hey, you want a Pocket 4? I said, absolutely. So they got it. So I've had it for the past week. I've been using it. And I used the Pocket 3 for the last year or two and loved it. This is all I brought to DubDub last year. It's what I brought to CES. And we're going to talk more about gear and DubDub in more power users. But the Pocket 4 is really cool. A couple of things. To lock the gimbal, it actually has this little clamp, just a little plastic clamp or whatever that kind of locks the gimbal in place, but it has a magnetic sensor, and so it knows when this little clamp to lock the gimbal in place is there, and it won't unlock. It won't turn on the gimbal, which is nice. But it also has multiple buttons. So there's a quick action button and a secondary button that you can program to do whatever you want. There's also like the light attachment, which I didn't get. And it also does 3K vertical video, which is something I do a lot with the Osmo, whereas the Osmo Pocket 3 only did like 2K. So I get better vertical video. I have more buttons to customize, and I'm going to be testing it more. But I also will say the battery pack and all the accessories that click into the bottom, my Osmo Pocket 3 ones work with my 4. So I can use the same battery extension, and I can do all of that. And I will be bringing both of these to DubDub, but we'll be using the Pocket 4 for all my things, and I will report back about how well it performs, but I got the 4.
Yeah, and for folks who aren't keeping track of all the news, DJI is a Chinese company that makes really great drones and cameras, and for whatever reason, I haven't actually had time to figure out what the reason is. It's illegal to buy them in the United States now.
It's an import ban. The United States government put a ban on a lot of different things, and they marked a DJI because they make drones. They said import ban on the products, all those products. So you can't get their Osmo 4, any of the accessories. You can't get any of it in the United States. You can get it in other countries. So if you listen in Europe, the UK, you should be able to get it all. But the accessories are kind of the real story, which unfortunately I don't have those. But like there's a light that you can get that magnetically attaches to the top of the Osmo Pocket 4, and then you can use one of the quick action buttons to kind of turn that light on and off. And so I'll put a link to one of the product pages from a random third-party website. Again, as soon as you put in your shipping address for the United States, you're probably not going to be able to order it. But I'm going to be testing it out and seeing how well it does. I love my 3, and I think I'm going to like the 4 too.
Yeah. Now, it's just hopefully the black helicopters don't come from your seat.
I don't even know. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I posted like a picture on social media, and even that I was like, is this okay? I'm not arrested yet, so we'll see. Listen, it just fell off a truck in the front of my house. What can I say?
There you go.
That's all that happened. So
as always, these feedback episodes are so fun. Thanks everybody for sending all the feedback and questions in. We are the Mac Power Users. You can find us at relay.fm/MPU for feedback and membership. You should sign up for Mac Power Users membership, more power users. You get the ad-free extended version of the show. We're now doing a monthly-ish bonus episode. We've already done 2. We did one on ranking Star Wars. We did the other one going deeper on HomeKit and Home App. We're recording another one in just a few days, so we've got more coming for you. We'd love to have you join. Thank you to our sponsors, Squarespace and 1Password. We'll see you next time.